Welcome to Circle of Hearts Radio. Journey with Grandmother Alaya as she enters her magical world of relics, sacred sites, and ancient crystal skulls. Meet with exciting trailblazer authors and individuals shifting the consciousness of humanity. Send her your questions to be answered on air on her monthly segment, Ask the Oracle. And now your host, Grandmother Alaya, in the sanctuary on the airwaves on OMTimes Radio.
Sanctuary. I'm Alaya. Today I'm really excited to bring you a very fascinating young woman, very knowledgeable for her age. Maria Wheatley is an accomplished author of books on sacred sites. She has researched esoteric design canons of prehistoric sites, druid ceremonial enclosures, and the Knight Templars for many years. She has studied Neolithic Britain and Bronze Age. And I could go on and on, but you don't want to hear me reading. Many of you from the UK know Maria. Many people that are interested in dowsing know Maria. So today, actually on the spur of the moment, we decided to bring up the subject of water. And Maria's going to give her wonderful knowledge on it, and there's a lot to accomplish. So I'm going to turn the show over to Maria here. Hi, we made it.
Yeah, hi, thanks for having me on the show. It's a pleasure.
Okay, now, like I had told Maria, I don't know anything about water. I know about water consciousness, but she has really some interesting information to impart. But the first question, what is an esoteric dowser?
Well, an esoteric dowser looks at the planet as to be a living being, and that her different underground waters and energies are an expression of her energetic system, and it works with these energies to bring her energy in harmony with our energy. So that could mean, for example, wherever you live, you can decode the energies in your house and live in harmony with the heartbeat of Gaia, because we all know now that we do live on a living and breathing planet. And so esoteric dowsing is really kind of like just being a very sensitive dowser, looking at all the different various types of energies and working with them. And this is where I hope we will go in the future, with architects working with earth energies, schools being integrating different types of earth energies, so that because our consciousness is affected by different types of earth energies and lays and things like that. So yes, it's about working with the earth.
Yeah, I don't think, even sometimes I really don't think people, some do, really realize this is a living planet. I think they're off in their own little world. But that's another subject. What is your understanding of water and its, effect on the earth, effect on us, its purpose? Is it a consciousness? Is it inert? Is it vibratory? Now I'm going to let you go with that.
Yeah, well, my take on water is that, as I've explained in other interviews, is there's two types of water. One type of water we're all familiar with. It falls from the sky, and don't we know it, today in the UK we've had nothing but rain for the first part of the day. The rainwater falls from the sky, it fills up aquifers and underground streams, and that flows through the earth. And that rainwater, incidentally, could have fallen thousands of years ago, and way back in like the Jurassic period, creating some aquifers which are 30, 40, 50, 60,000 years old. So that's one type of water that is derived from rainfall. And then I was taught, because my late father was a water diviner, the other type of water is born within the womb of Gaia, independently of rainfall, and that is sacred water, that is harmonic water. It is sentient, it has consciousness, and it has a living, vibrant energy to it. So it was very important in antiquity to work out where all of these big lakes were, of these huge underground living, breathing aquifers that can never dry up, incidentally, because a lot of people say we'll be heading for water shortages and things. But this type of living water is constantly being replenished all of the time in water divine in law. So it's like having large pockets of underground water. But as we know, even with surface water, when we get a river or stream, it eventually runs to a sea, a much larger body of water. That's how the inner waters of the earth behave on a very deep level as well. They're all interconnected. And all of these interconnected lakes, rivers, small streams, they're all on the inside of Gaia, because just like her outside waters make up 75% of the planet, she's fluidic. On the inside, there's just as much water on the inside. In fact, ancient China, Peking, the capital of ancient China, all the old geomants there always used to say Peking is under a vast amount of underground water. And it was proved recently and reported in New Scientist magazine that, in fact, the underground water there is a sea the size of the Arctic Ocean. So this is the vastness of Earth's inner waters. And they do admit some waters energies that we can work with and can be very healing.
I don't know. Just what you were saying is fascinating, because to think inside Gaia, there's these huge pockets of water. Any inkling how they were created? Because that blows my mind.
Yeah, how these waters are created. I mean, when we think about it, Gaia can produce some very unusual substances, from sulfur to uranium, plutonium, all of these type of minerals and expressions of herself. Water as well is what she can create chemically deep within the womb of her being. And I will think it will be found in the near future that all planetary bodies can do this. I don't think it's going to be unique to planet Earth. Now, in kind of ancient dowsing lore, these were called, underground blind springs, or primary water, which is the first types of water. So these waters are very pure, very, very, very pure. And it's this type of water that's believed to be sentient, has consciousness that you can link into at any one time. Because as homeopathy tells us, water has memory. So when we work with these inner pockets of water, these vast amounts of lakes, for example, like Stonehenge is above an underground lake, we can tap into the past as well, like the Earth's Akashic records. We can tune in to these different periods in time through the underground water there that has a memory. And it's a living memory field as well. I don't think it was necessarily the underground water that our ancient ancestors were interested in, because they certainly marked their ancient sites all on underground water sources. I think it was the energy field that it produces, because these large underground lakes produce a spiral pattern called a geospiral, which is surrounded by a large circular energy pattern, which is surrounded by a much larger horseshoe pattern. And this was first really mapped out by a Master Dowser called Guy Underwood nearly 80 years ago. A lot of other dowsers have confirmed his work. So these are patterns of electromagnetic force that this underground water produces. And the horseshoe pattern is always thought to have been very protective. So a lot of ancient medieval towns and cities were built on this horseshoe type electromagnetic energy field. And the circular energy field is where stone circles were built upon. And the geospiral always marks the esoteric center of an ancient monument, be that a pyramid or be that a stone circle. These are the patterns that our ancient ancestors were looking for.
Well, now I know this is just a little bit off before we get to the next question. Would the underground waters feed the oceans, or would that be? You know what I'm saying?
That's a really good question. And despite all of our geological awareness of Earth, we know very, very little about the inner waters of the Earth. We don't know where they come out or anything really. The only thing we do know about them is they tend to come out and manifest in springs. That's where we do know. But it always comes out at a temperature, usually about sort of 10 Celsius. So the temperatures of the water as it goes down probably warms up. But it's actually thought by some water diviners that in the inside of the earth, they're very, very cool. So, but they can change temperature. And in fact, some geologists in New Scientist magazine articles claim that some of the really big like cave systems, those deep fissures inside the earth that have underground water flowing through them, that could be a stream or a lake, could even have its own weather system.
Fascinating. I'm just totally amazed. This is so interesting. Now, you're saying a lot of the ancient sites, as you even mentioned on one of the questions about Stonehenge, but any of the springs that people would consider healing, this is part of that underground water that raises to the surface?
It's the energy pattern. So if you imagine you've got the water deep down in the ground, and that emits an energy pattern that dowsers can recognize. To particular type of patterns like a horseshoe shape, a circle, or a spiral. That is really good harmonic energy. Now, when we've tested this out to see what frequency this type of energy emits, it's always around the 7 to 10 hertz brain frequency. So it really brings us into a relaxed state of being, for example. And because it's underground water that ripples through to the surface, it's always rich in negative ions. It produces a negative ion field as well, which is quite good for us as well. But our ancient ancestors not only marked out these horseshoe, circular and spiral patterns with their ancient monuments, the way that you would enter them through a processional avenue, for example, like at Stonehenge and Avebury, an avenue of sphinxes, as in ancient Egypt, for example, they too would be on the rivers that run through. And these rivers, these underground rivers of energy, are called aquastats. And they were called aquastats by the master diviner Guy Underwood. And these aquastats create an energy field much wider than the actual underground.
Your conscious lifestyle on steroids. OMTimes Radio, IOM FM. OMTimes Magazine is one of the leading online content providers of positivity, wellness, and personal empowerment. A philanthropic organization, their net proceeds are funneled to support worldwide charity initiatives via Humanity Healing International. Through their commitment to creating community and providing conscious content, they aspire to uplift humanity on a global scale. OMTimes, co-creating a more conscious lifestyle.
Hi, this is Sylvia Henderson, intuitive life coach and energy healer. Are you ready to elevate and rise way above your normal? Be sure to listen to my show, Intuitive Transformations, on OMTimes Radio, Sunday evenings at 9 p.m. Eastern. Get the inspiration you need to transform your life.
Circle of Hearts Radio is a sanctuary on the airwaves. Join me, Grandmother Elia, in the circle on Sunday 2 p.m. Eastern as I share information to both enlighten and nourish your soul.
Being a radio host on IOM FM allows you to build your show on a rich platform with the power of the internet to fulfill your outreach goals and connect with a very specialized and global online audience, unlimited by time and distance. OMTimes Radio will provide you with web relevance, a recognizable conscious brand, and with the standard of excellence that has accompanied every single OMTimes endeavor. Host your show with OMTimes Radio Network. The cutting edge of conscious radio. OMTimes Radio, IOM FM.
What you're saying, Maria, I didn't even notice the commercial coming up. I really was. I was so fascinated. Okay. Well, let's get back into the aquastats that you were talking about.
Yeah, the aquastats, they're very deep underground rivers, very different from the underground rivers of rainfall water, because the underground rivers of rainfall water are said to emit geopathic stress. That's negative toxic energies, and water diviners and geomancers and dowsers would correct that in somebody's home, for example, because the frequency it emits is a bit jarring, for instance. But the aquastats, the harmonic rivers of energy that emit the energy through the underground water. These are said to be beneficial to our health, and our ancient ancestors mapped them out worldwide through avenues and through earthworks. It was very important for them to place their monuments and, in some respect, their houses and where they lived on these harmonic energy patterns, which are very beneficial to us. And over the years, I've developed a healing system to do with working with our own body water, because we're 75% water, just mirroring Gaia's surface waters and inner waters alike. So I believe that our memory isn't just stored in our brains, it's stored in our body water, because water can hold on to memory, and we can work with these aquastats, we can work with these spiral and circular and horseshoe patterns to cleanse our own body waters. Because once you link in your consciousness to the water, and again, I'll use an esoteric dowsing phrase, it's not the water per se, it's the light within the water, the elementals, the light beings. That's what you kind of connect with on a kind of very deep metaphysical level. And those two connections, you can draw up that beautiful light from the living sentient water to cleanse your own body water, which has a rejuvenating effect, I believe, and can make you feel very, very fresh and very anew. It's a wonderful experience to work with the Earth's inner waters.
This was like Emoto's theory, wasn't it? Or this is what he was discovering about taking the pictures of, what was it, the frozen water. To look at the thought form there, and as far as they show whether negativity, how affected that pattern, or positive. So was this sort of the what he was talking about also?
Absolutely. I mean, he looks into like communicating with water, say something nice and loving and respectful and beautiful. And all living organisms will respond to that, whether I talk to my dog in a beautiful way, or a tree in a beautiful way, or water in a beautiful way. And just like that, we can talk to the deep inner waters of Gaia, because Gaia isn't solid, she's fluidic. She has more water than she has solidness, and it is in that movement, constantly interacting with other celestial energies, like the moon, for example, will have a tidal effect on the Earth's inner waters at the quarter phases of the moon, like half moons, especially in the States, about 7 or 8 days after a new or full moon. Will have a tidal effect, just like the new moon and the full moon will have a tidal effect on the surface waters. And we had a very famous geomant in the UK called John Michell. He wrote numerous books on ancient sites, a very wise chap who passed over, I believe, 2 or 3 years ago now, and I had the pleasure of meeting him. And what John Michell said about the Earth's inner waters is that they have a numerical number that they respond to, which is 1080, which is the opposite to a solar force number of 666, which is a solar tyrant number. So the Earth's inner waters respond to the very, very deep feminine. Water and earth are the two feminine elements that we have, and combined in the element of earth with water produces this kind of numerical mystical code. But we can just find these streams, we can find these underground rivers, and we can work with them by communicating with them and allowing them to respond to our own bodies and minds. Animals do this naturally. You have another type of energy line, which dowsers may have been familiar with, called the track line. Track lines is where all animals will follow them. Wildebeest will follow them for miles, and they never tire. And they never really tire that much when they're following the natural energy lines of Gaia, is because these type of track lines, for instance, relax your muscles, so that when these animals move through the landscape, their muscles are relaxed. And in some degree, our ancient ancestors in the UK made some of their very ancient roads, which we call ridgeways, that we have the Wessex Ridgeway, the South Downs Ridgeway. These follow these track lines, so that when ancient man walked upon the earth, his muscles were relaxed. He was living in harmony with the earth.
Is that how to phrase this? Now, the ancient people, let's say, or the Druids, is this how they founded Stonehenge, between those lines and seeking out the underground water? I'm not phrasing this right, but I think you might know what I'm trying to get at.
Yeah. I mean, absolutely. Stonehenge is underneath a large volume of water. It doesn't matter where you go in the world. You will find all ancient sites, 9 times out of 10, are associated with underground water. But the older monuments in the UK, for example, which are the Neolithic monuments, Stonehenge is a Bronze Age monument dated to about 4,500 years ago. If you go to the older monuments, they're called long barrows and causewayed enclosures. All causewayed enclosures, and they're a fascinating monument because they're 3 concentric circles or 2 concentric circles of earthworks that have a ditch and a bank and a gap, a ditch and a bank and a gap. So imagine 3 concentric circles of earthworks. They're called causewayed enclosures. They're up to 5,000, 6,000 years old. And an archaeologist called Tim Champion, he noted that every single causeways enclosure in northwest Europe, that's not just the UK, that's a vast part of the European continent, every single one of those monuments was at the meeting point of 2 aquifers. 2 large aquifers coming together, pushing out these energy patterns, pushing out this electromagnetic energy. Our ancient ancestors were very sensitive to this force field because these circular patterns create a force field. And those that are sensitive with dowsing rods, their bodies, whatever, when you walk into these energy fields and you've sensitized to them, you've recognized the energy because you've interacted with it before, you sense it. And these force fields react to the moon. And when they switch and change their flow direction at those half moons I was talking about earlier, sensitive people can actually feel that rotational change. Because if a circle will be going one way in the lunar phase, and then when the next phase comes up, it will flow anti-clockwise, for example. So they're constantly flowing, just like the waters of the surface in the tidal pools that we see at the seas.
Fascinating. I'm just listening here. Fascinating. Now, in your opinion, I notice that a lot of people are all over the world interested in water healing, but they usually are going to the rivers or to the oceans, and they're placing wonderful intents for their energy, out there working with crystals or whatever they're doing. Would it be better or more amplified if they found the aqua source, am I saying, or a source of it?
I think it's good to work with both. I think it's good to work with the surface waters, and I think it's that you can see and they're physical. And it's also good to work with the unseen, the invisible waters that reside and are born deep within the earth. These are powerful, powerful forms of water that emit healing fields, that can interact with our consciousness, can give you information about the history of the planet, can give you information about yourself, can cleanse your own body water, and can have a healing effect on you. That's what our ancient ancestors understood about the surface water and the underground water. You look at a monument like Stonehenge, for example, or another stone circle in the UK, and the underground waters are marked out by the stone settings, but the avenues always tend to lead to surface water. So by that I mean the avenue at Stonehenge led to the River Avon. The avenue at Stanton Drew Stone Circle in Somerset led to the River Chew. The avenue at Avebury led across to the River Winterbourne on one of its avenues. So it was a coming together of the surface waters and the underground waters. That was the key. It was working with them both in antiquity, I think. And now we tend to work with the surface waters, which are fantastic. And I commend anybody that does that. But I think as well, we need to kind of have a look at what's going on inside of Gaia. And if we recognize what's going on inside of Gaia, we recognize what's going on inside ourselves as well. Because like I said earlier, our body water, if you cleanse it, it's holding on to memories, and the earth's inner waters allow us to work with that energy and to cleanse any unwanted memories, anything into the waters to be cleansed. It's like having a kind of etheric bath when you work with these inner waters.
Plus your own personal work, I notice you talking about you bringing the astrological into it. You're definitely bringing heaven to earth, and we're sort of like a little lightning rod somewhere in between and affected by both.
Oh, absolutely. And it's the lunar half moons that the underground waters respond to, which is a little bit different to the surface waters. And also eclipses, for example. The Earth's energy system, whether it's Earth energy currents, lays, or the deep underground waters, at the times of the eclipses, everything goes still and slows down, and then the whole system reboots up again later. And this has been noticed by Master Dowsers like Hamish Miller, my late father, myself. We've all noticed the effect of eclipse on the Earth's inner waters and energy system as well. It's a still point in time. And that's also a very good time to work with energies at eclipse times as well, or those large astrological conjunctions that can happen in the heavens. But take all that away. You don't need to be an astrologer to figure that out. You just need to be a sensitive, loving being that wants to tune into those inner waters of the earth and to make that conscious connection. And what I always suggest to people when they stand on an underground stream, like an Aqua, for example, give your love.
The Real Conscious Connection. OMTimes Radio. IOM FM. Have you ever wondered how to change your love paradigm? The secret key is finding a love partnership, not just a regular connection. How do you find these? Through conscious relationships. Ascending Hearts Dating is a dating site for people like you that believes in second chances and a different type of spiritual connection. Try Ascending Hearts for free today at ascendinghearts.com and change your love paradigm. Ascending Hearts, the premier dating community for the spiritually awake.
Hi, this is Sylvia Henderson, intuitive life coach and energy healer. Are you ready to elevate and rise way above your normal? Be sure to listen to my show, Intuitive Transformations, on OMTimes Radio, Sunday evenings at 9 p.m. Eastern. Get the inspiration you need to transform your life.
Hi everyone, this is Shay Parker, the host of Best of the Best, which airs live right here on IOM Radio every Tuesday night at 8 p.m. Eastern and 5 p.m. Pacific. I'm super excited to bring you expert guest hosts, spiritual discussions, free psychic readings, and so much more. I can promise that you will not want to miss this one-of-a-kind, fun, yet touching, down-to-earth show. Join us every Tuesday night at 8 p.m. Eastern, 9 p.m. Pacific on OTR FM. This is Shay Parker, and I can't wait to see you there.
Host your show on IOM-FM, the radio network of OMTimes Media, one of the more recognized brand names in the conscious community, and is backed by the extensive marketing reach of OMTimes. Hosting a show on IOM-FM immediately connects you with our extensive dedicated community. A conscious lifestyle for a mindful life. OMTimes Radio. IOM-FM.
Next half hour, I really want to concentrate on your healing system and how people actually can get involved with working with water. But before we start, and I get lost. I don't even know that the commercial is coming up. There was a question that you had. What are the earth colors associated with deep underground water? I never heard of this.
Yeah, well, going back to the 1920s and the 1930s, in France, you had two very famous dowsers that worked with different types of earth energy. And they used to set up some experiments in laboratories, and they found that if they put a pendulum or something that can move onto a circular board, and you put out certain colors on that board in different directions, like, for example, red in the east or violet in the west, whatever, and you do the color spectrum going round, particular areas are always associated with particular colors. That was the first thing that they noticed. Then after a while, they started to do some more experiments and realized that the earth can emit different colors and different frequencies of those colors on energy lines and currents and lays and underground water. So they used the colors of the spectrum that we're very familiar with, like red up until violet. But they also noticed there was invisible colors that the earth emits on these energy lines and currents and underground water, including ultraviolet, ultra white, ultra black, for example, and negative green. These were the high earth frequency colors. And what they noted that the lower chakra colors, like the reds and the oranges and the yellows, for example, they always stay very close to the earth energies that flow through the ground or the underground water. But when you have the higher frequency colors of the blues, like the throat chakras, going up to the high violets and the earth color of ultraviolet, they go really high, way up to the sky. So they come out of the earth much, much higher. So when we think about lays, when we think about earth energies, when we think about underground water, we need to add the extra dimension of color to that. So that and all in esoteric dowsing, all of the chakras contain all of the colors, but only one color prevails and dominates. For example, in the base chakra, that's red, and that's for the opening of that chakra. But all of the colors are contained. All of the earth colors are contained within us, even negative green and ultraviolet, for example.
Now, the waters from the underground water, I'm just listening to you. We would consider that clear, but it would be very much prism-like if you were able to shine a light. I was just trying to think,
but what I mean about the colors of the energy lines, they're in a dimension that you can't actually see them as such, although some researchers like Harry Oldfield claim that they have filters that can film earth energy, and when they use these filters to capture earth energy on lays or earth flows and currents, they do come out in that rainbow color sequence of the electromagnetic color spectrum. So we have seen these energies, and for people that want to see that, I've got an article on my website, which is www.theaveburyexperience.co.uk. in megalithic energy, you can see those earth colors coming out of the ground. And this is what we need to think about earth energy and the electromagnetic energy emitted by underground water. It's rising out of the ground. It isn't in the ground as such. Especially those higher colors, they're coming way, way out and embracing us and allowing us to interact with its energy. Its energy flows up through our bodies. We become one with that energy field. Our aura, our own earthly colors interact with the earth's energy colors as well.
Go ahead. No.
So it's a bit like having our aura, which we know is full of colors, don't we? We know this.
Mm-hmm.
The earth energy currents and the earth's ley system, they too have those colors, a bit like our auras.
I was just thinking before we get into your, the healing system you developed, when we're talking about water, if it has all those earth energies within it's when we're ingesting it, washing it, whatever, it's flowing through us. It enhances the energies of the earth that it contains. Does that make sense or no?
Oh, absolutely. And even, when we're in a bathtub full of water, or in a shower and the water's flowing down, you're seeing and feeling a physical substance. Behind that physical substance is a light field of beautiful colors, which have been coined the earth colors because they're often associated with earth energies. So it's looking at that physical substance on a metaphysical level. So it's the colors. And when, water diviners have been using color to decode minerals in underground streams and well boring for many, many years. So, for example, if they are going to bore a well and you want to know the mineral content, you would use a color dial. You use a color dial and a pendulum, and the pendulum would just point to a color on that dial. And let's say it points to the color red. Then that's probably going to be rich in iron. If the pendulum chooses green, that underground water is probably going to be rich in copper mineral deposits, for example. So these colors have been used in association with water divining for many, many years. And I show how you can use and all the meanings of the earth colors in association with ley lines in my book, Divining Ancient Sites. So, for example, if you've got an energy line, let's say a ley line, that is flowing very fast, and it's flowing very fast with the color red, that's going to be a lot of a high energy line, and it's going to keep us awake and restless, for example. So different colors of energy lines have different meanings that have been noted over the past 80 years or so by Master Dowsers. So the color of an energy line is very, very important.
Fascinating. Now, I want to get into, you say you developed a healing system. I mean, can people find these waters themselves? I mean, it seems like it would be very beneficial, this awareness, especially during these crazy times. And to do some self-healing and becoming more part of the planet, maybe would be a little bit more, not as crazy, might be a little bit more centered.
Absolutely. I mean, the easiest way to find these waters is if you're in an area that has any type of ancient site. They were marked out in antiquity, these places. So if you're lucky enough to live by an ancient site, I would say go there, go to the nearest centre. And in all probability, you're going to be above that type of underground deep yin water, as I call it. And I call it yin water because it's born within the womb of Gaia. But let's say you're not. Let's say you're in the middle of an area and you don't know anything, and there's no ancient site, and you haven't even heard if there was an ancient site there. Well, if that is the case, for example, then you need to employ dowsing. You need to use what's called a dowsing L rod. And these can be bought online at most dowsing societies, or you can make them yourself with coat hangers, was a very traditional way. to make dowsing rods, and you can make them into an L shape, and you can use 1 or 2 rods depending on how comfortable that you feel. I just tend to use 1 rod these days, but traditionally you use 2. And what you would do to try and find that underground water source is you would set your intents. Spend some moments thinking about underground water. Imagine what it would look like flowing through the dark caverns underground. So you tune in to that which you're going to douse. You tune into it. That's very, very important. You visualize that. And then you could ask your rod through what's called information dowsing, is there any underground yin water in your area? Yes, no. Your rod will respond yes or no to programming. It's ever so easy to do. So you would just literally ask your rod a series of questions. It's called information dowsing, which is very easy to do. My late father wrote a fantastic book called The Essential Dowsing Guide, which tells you how to do information dowsing and how to find these underground water sources. And in my own book, Divine in Ancient Sites, I explain this. But in a nutshell, you would use an L rod. You would ask that L rod, is there any underground water in your vicinity? And let's say you set up in your mind, I'm going to have 50 meters from where I live or 50 meters from where you're stood. You ask the question, is there any in water in this area? You will get a yes or a no. Let's say, for example, you get a yes, you know that you're in close proximity to that underground water, and then you can just ask your rod to literally show you the direction of that underground water source, and your rod will waver for a while, to and fro, and then it will lock onto the target, and then you would walk towards that target, and then when you find that target of underground water, your rod will swing to a found position, which would say, here it is, here's the underground water source. And for those people interested in working with Gaia's inner waters, if you go to my other website, which is esotericcollege.com, I have Skype courses that take you through in real detail how to find this type of water. So you can look out on my Skype courses for working with Gaia's inner waters or working with the colors of Gaia. But it's really, really simple to do. It's just having the confidence to do it. Setting up your rod, asking if there's water in your vicinity, and then following your dowsing rod. And when your rods swing to that found position, you know that you're above that underground water. Then you can start working with that water to replenish and refresh your own body water, and maybe to release memories that you've had from childhood. It's about releasing memory into the earth's deep inner waters, which like I said earlier, to work with the inner waters, it's about asking Gaia to receive your intent, to receive your love.
Hey, we made the commercial this time, Maria.
We're getting good at this.
Yay! Maybe go into that a little bit more, how somebody could actually work with that in releasing, because
Absolutely.
there's a lot going on in the world right now. And that's our last quarter.
Sure.
Bringing you the best of the conscious minds in the world. OMTimes Radio, your conscious lifestyle on steroids. Are you trying to get from point A to point B and need a little advice? Connect with the counselors at OMTimes Advisors. Whether you're looking for a life coach or a spiritual intuitive, the advisors participating at advisors.omtimes.com were carefully chosen based on their gifts, skills, and professionalism. OMTimes Advisors, connecting you with the best advisors in the business.
Do you want to be a better communicator? Do you want to better connect with the important people in your life? Do you want to enrich your relationships? If so, join me, Matthew Cooper, on the Positive Control System Show every Wednesday evening at 11 o'clock p.m. Eastern Standard Time on OMTimes Radio. I'll meet you there.
Matt Connerton here. Join Jen Coffey and I twice a week for Matt Connerton Unleashed, a political talk show that's a little different than what you're used to. No liberal or conservative agenda here, just an honest dialogue about truth and how things really work in the world of politics. Matt Connerton Unleashed, every Tuesday and Thursday night at 11 p.m. Eastern on OMTimes Radio.
Being a radio host on IOM FM allows you to build your show on a rich platform with the power of the internet to fulfill your outreach goals and connect with a very specialized and global online audience, unlimited by time and distance. OMTimes Radio will provide you with web relevance, a recognizable conscious brand, and with the standard of excellence that has accompanied every single OMTimes endeavor. Host your show with OMTimes Radio Network, connecting you with the best of the conscious minds in the world. OMTimes Radio. IOM FM.
We got 15 more minutes. Maria, could you give us an example of how to do this, this healing with the water, and then before the show ends, go over your sites again so people know how to get hold of you?
Sure. I mean, really, we can work with any type of water. It could be surface water. It could be an underground yang stream. It could be the deep inner waters of the earth. The inner waters of the earth are fantastic, but it's not necessary. You could work with any type of water to be truthful. You could be stood by a river. You could be stood, for example, on an underground stream. Yeah. So it really doesn't matter. So that really opens up everything now. Anyone can do this, and everybody can do this. Mm-hmm. So basically, what you can do is, if it's a nice day, you can be barefoot and you can connect to the earth. Yeah, you just push your feet down onto the earth and feel that beautiful earth, and you could get grounded that way. And then, we can set up our intent, and our intent is to connect with the earth's deep inner waters, or surface water or whatever, because even if you've got a surface river, that's going to be fed by an underground stream somewhere anyway, so you'll be connecting, even if you're working with the surface waters, to the deep underground waters. So we connect, we ask if we can work with the underground water, we ask if we can work with Gaia's energy, and we sense that if it's being received or not. You will just get a sense, yes, it's now a good time to do it, no, I think I'll leave it today. Use your own sensitivity to see how your intent has been received from Gaia, for example. That's always the best way, coming from the heart, coming from the truth, and coming from the light. But let's say we've got a really good feeling about where we're stood. We've got a really good feeling about we've connected to the underground waters. We can do that through visualization. Visualize yourself connecting to a beautiful, deep underground stream. A lot of people as well, when they do connect to the underground streams, no matter where you're stood, for example, a lot of people see them as flowing violets through the land. Yeah, they have a very high. They have a very high color. So, if you're trying to tune in wherever you are, go down deep into the earth until you feel a beautiful, violet colored stream, for example. And then the ancient Druids had a fourfold way of bringing up the earth energy from the ground or from the underground water. And that's, they would imagine that the chakra system has 4 elements of water, earth, air, and fire. So our element of earth is our feet on the ground. So we imagine that we've connected to that beautiful light source that in the ground, representing our underground stream, and ask for that beautiful light to be drawn up through the earth until it connects to our feet, and then draw, which is the element earth in the ancient Druid way of seeing the chakra system. And you pull that beautiful light up through your body, up through the legs, up through the knees, right the way to the base chakra. And this area, the Druids saw as water, it's fluid, it's our sex fluids. So they saw this as water. So you draw it up through the element of water, all the way up your chakra system till it reaches the heart, which is fire. It's the element of passion, the element of love. And it's here from the heart center that now you can think about, what is it I'd like to release to the heart? what would I like to go in my life? What hasn't worked for me in the past? Have a feel for that, and then just allow it to kind of go down, 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 down through that light into the waters of the earth to cleanse and replenish. And then again, we see the violet light and draw it back up through the body to the heart system again, and then spend a moment being flushed and allow that light to flow all throughout your body. And then when you feel it's appropriate, draw the energy up to the element of air, which is the throat chakra, and all of the higher chakras like the third eye and the crown. Draw that up through the top of the head, and then allow all that energy to go way back down through the different elements, back down through air, back down through fire, back down through water, back down through the element of earth into the earth's deep waters. And then you'll notice your body will do something once it's been replenished like that. And a lot of people visualize, water and waves going through them. You'll do it in your own kind of unique way, but you will feel a pull towards the earth once your body waters have been cleansed.
Fascinating. Oh,
so give it a go. I mean, give this a go. A lot of people feel that it's, we're working with your own body water. We, again, always think of ourselves as solid. We think ourselves as big, because we are, we look at our arms. I'm looking at my arms now and thinking, yeah, I look very, very solid. But this side of us that is fluidic with our body waters, there's no different between your body water and the sea. The salty water in the sea is the same as your body water. There is no difference. We are connected to the seas like that. We're connected to the underground waters like that. So we are water.
I think just hearing somebody talking about this, which is so wonderful, I think you give back people's power. They feel that sometimes they're so lost, how am I going to do this? What psychiatrist do I go to? Or it's just coming back to working with the information of the ancestors really, and putting it back there, coming back, becoming in tune with Gaia.
Absolutely. And once we do that, once you've kind of you go through your way of doing your cleansing your body waters, you could just visualize, yourself being cleansed and washed over with beautiful earth waters coming up through you. A lot of people work with it on that way. When you go back to that place where you've already cleansed your body water, because you're working with the underground waters, you'll be recognized. You'll have a sense that you're remembered and you've come back. So many people say that to me when they've been working on that level. It's almost like, Maria, they recognize me. I've come back. So you're building up a rapport with the earth. That has memory, that water. It won't forget you. So we have to have, a lot of responsibility when we go to these places, So it's good to go in a good frame of mind, Or if you're in a frame of mind that needs healing, express that. Express your truth all of the time to the earth's inner waters, and it will be recognized and listened and heard about. And I've had quite a few health complaints in my time. I really have. And I've always gone back to working with the earth energies, the earth colors, and with the earth's living waters, because the earth waters are alive, they're sentient, they're conscious. You could work with the history of an ancient site through the earth waters that are beneath places like Stonehenge, the pyramids, by connecting to that water.
I'm just curious, in the last few minutes here, have you ever been to Fatima or Lourdes?
Yes, I mean, again, that the Lourdes is world famous, and that's because Bernadette, when she was scratching at the ground, she saw the Virgin Mary manifest there, and it's always been noted by sensitive water diviners that wherever you have sacred water, the goddess will manifest in how you recognize it. And for Bernadette, it was through being the blessed Virgin Mary. You get a lot of kind of female manifestations around underground water sources or springs.
Water is the nurturer, the mother of the earth. I mean, you have...
Yes.
That wasn't well said, but you know what I'm getting at.
Absolutely.
Like I said, last few minutes, can you please just give them your sites again? So, it's been absolutely fascinating.
Sure, if you want to find out more about learning how to dowse, working with the Earth's inner waters, color healing through the Earth's colors, go to esotericcollege.com and have a look at my Skype lessons or my home study online lessons. All of my courses are affiliated to the Association of British Correspondence Colleges, and you can take them to certificate level. I love working with people intimately on Skype. Have a look at my courses to do with earth energies and dowsing's ancient sites at the aveburyexperience.co.uk, for example, and I have all of my books on the aveburyexperience.co.uk, so you can check those out and just have a look at some of my articles on yin water and yang water at the aveburyexperience.co. And if you want to take a course or anything like that, go to esotericcollege.com.
This was an absolute, I got lost just listening to you here. Not lost in not understanding, just your passion toward this work. It just makes it so fascinating. And to my listeners, I've, asked Maria to come back in the future to talk about the elongated skull she found in Stonehenge. So, that's sort of going to be like a little teaser to dangle in front of them, because you're a wonderful lecturer, and we're getting better at the commercial break.
So we're really going to be on target with the elongated skulls.
Yeah, you're going to be so inwardly timed, okay. Because I was just listening and thinking, so music.
Oh, it's been great.
But the thing about the water is so timely, and really people taking power over their own life and their own health, and actually understanding through talks like this, having somebody really share their passion. I got lost in just visualizing and thinking everything that you're saying,
That's right. Working with the waters can change your life. So let's take that first step and change something about ourselves with working with surface water, underground water. Let's just go out and try it and do it.
Yeah, because people don't, now I got to watch the sound here. People don't realize they have choices and they make a difference. So Maria, thank you. I'll be giving you the podcast tomorrow, and let's arrange for another talk, okay?
Okay, thanks a lot.
Okay, bye-bye.
See ya.